All right, Nittany Nation, welcome to episode 2 of Penn State at the Voice of College Football. I'm Andy. Nick is here, and we have a special guest, Dylan Dawson, in here with us.
How you guys doing?
Welcome.
Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, as we try to build this channel out and just kind of bring content to fans that they'll enjoy and hopefully tune back into.
Of course.
So, Dylan, if you kind of want to introduce kind of your role with Penn State right now.
Yeah, I am going into technically my 5th year at Penn State, but I'm a student here. I'm doing one more semester to get my second minor, broadcast journalism major, and I am pretty involved in athletics here. I've been covering them pretty independently as a student. Recently been working with Happy Valley United, which has been nice. I've had some access to recruits passing through for official visits. Been able to sit down and talk with them after their visits, for short little interviews to kind of get a feel of how their official visit went, how their recruitments are going, just kind of gloss over everything to do with whoever's sitting next to me. So that's been pretty cool to get to talk to those kids. And then been working with various outlets here, media outlets at Penn State. Been able to I've had the pleasure of, as a student, which I know a lot of students don't, so I'm really grateful, but been able to be on the sidelines now for the last 2 years and take in Beaver Stadium and all the home games in person from the sidelines. So that's been really cool as well. Might move into national media after school, but for now it's all Penn State for Mr. Dylan.
Yeah, man,
Hey, Dylan, so go ahead, Andy, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nick.
So just a quick question for you. So 5th year going in here, being on the field now and everything. What made you want to get into that type of want to get into media and coverage and things like that? What's the passion behind that?
My dad went here. He was a mechanical engineering major, and he was huge Penn State guy. I grew up in York, PA, just 2 hours south of campus. So we'd come up for a bunch of trips when I was little. So yeah, my dad pretty much made sure it would be my dream school. He really didn't force it on me, but it was pretty hard to not love Penn State coming up and seeing campus in every season. You could just come up and make a day trip because we're so close. So I remember coming up I think for New Year's one year, we skated at Pagula or something. It was we're just up here for random stuff. So it was cool to really see how awesome of a community is just outside of athletics, outside of football. So that made me fall in love with the school for a young age. I just had so much love for Penn State. I didn't really know what to do with it. So I was you know what? I love Penn State football. I'm going to go on Google and find really cool Penn State football pictures. This is when I was 13 years old, and I'm going to post them on Instagram. So that's when I started my Instagram when I was 13. That's my largest platform now, follower wise. And yeah, I picked up things like graphic design, how to talk to people and network, just little things along the way. So I realized that I could actually do something with it, especially once I got to school there as an actual student. So yeah, it just kind of snowballed into what it is now. It doesn't always feel like I've accomplished too much for my age because it happened so gradually and I started at such a young age. It's been a part of my life for a third of my life, which is pretty crazy to think about. But yeah, when I step back, I'm really grateful for what I've been able to experience, the rooms I've been able to step in and the opportunities I've had, as a 22-year-old. It's pretty cool, but long way to go. The next stop is financially setting myself up after school. So we'll have to see where I'm headed, but I keep jumping in opportunities and I think I'll get to where I want to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. Going back to the content you've been creating for Happy Valley United, what's been your favorite interview you've done with a recruit?
I know you said this off camera too, and I still couldn't think of an answer. Probably Terry Wiggins. He was just a really humble, nice kid. He's a linebacker that's committed. He's an in-state kid from Coatesville. The whole linebacker U thing added on to it. The in-state kid going to Penn State. All those storylines kind of make you want to root for him, especially as a PA kid myself. So, but yeah, I got to sit down with him and off camera too. He was just a really nice, genuine, down to earth kid. said in front of the camera too, he's like, I'm just like a laid back guy, I like joking around with friends and just having fun and laughing. So that's kind of similar to how I am. So I just think he's a really nice, genuine kid that's going to really blossom in a program like Penn State.
So Dylan, so you work with a lot of the younger recruits, I'm guessing, and guys who are interested in Penn State and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's the youngest group of football athletes that you work with? How far down the rabbit hole does the recruiting process go?
I mean, you see kids right now like 2028, 2029 getting D1 offers, which is like, I think 8th and 9th graders, which is pretty insane. I mean, at this stage, I don't need to be like reaching out to them. I'm going to be coming in contact with any recruit that Penn State's seriously interested in. But they kind of spray offers, so it's hard to just like contact every single person that tweets out a Penn State offer. But it's usually like sophomore, junior year when their recruitments are starting to pick up and they're really coming into form and everyone's figuring out there's always like late risers, but you're going to like tier out recruits their sophomore, junior year. You're really figuring out who could go to the Penn States, Ohio States, Alabamas of the world. Maybe that in-state kid who's going to end up at Temple because he's not quite to take at Penn State, even though he got an offer early on. They kind of sorts itself out. So I'd say really junior year before OVs is when you realize on top of that who the maybe 3, 4, 5 schools that all those recruits are really interested in, where they're taking those officials to. So I would say I usually start to come in contact sophomore year, but junior year is where I am probably going to meet the kid in person. And then start actual, conversations with them.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, now that official visit season's pretty much done right now, we're in a dead period for recruiting right now.
Mm-hmm.
We talked off camera. We talked off camera about, last week how Notre Dame kind of took our lunch from us here.
That was terrible.
Who are some recruits maybe we should be looking at to maybe change the tide, or that Penn State's really got a good chance with?
Yeah, I mean, the tides are definitely turning a little bit. Penn State was in the slump, but they're not going to stay in a slump forever. I think Jackson Ford is the one to definitely watch. He's announcing on Friday, which is the 27th, correct? So that should be a noon announcement is what I'm hearing. He's down to Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and Wisconsin, so he's going to be playing in the Big Ten. I really think it's a Penn State-Ohio State battle, realistically. Took officials to both schools. He really liked both schools. But from everything I've heard, this seems like one that Penn State should win. So I think he's going to end up in the class. It seems like it could be a little bit of a domino effect with defensive line targets in general in the next week or two. You have Damari Simeon announcing this weekend. That's probably also a Penn State-Ohio State battle. He's from New Jersey. A D tackle out in New Jersey. You have Carter Meadows probably the next month. I don't think Penn State's going to end up with him. That's probably Michigan or Ohio State, unfortunately. You have his teammate down there in DC at Gonzaga. That's Tyson Harley. Although he's a low-rated recruit, if you look at the stats, he was far more productive than Carter Meadows. Carter just kind of has that big frame and that super high ceiling. But Tyson Harley's a really productive dude. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds. So that typical twitchy pass rusher, the Chop Robinson, Abdul Carter, Arnold Ebiketie mold, that not the best in the run probably, but he's going to be elite in the pass rush. So Tyson Harley's another one that I think Penn State's probably going to end up with. The competition is not super strong for him. They're probably battling Maryland, Michigan State, and then Virginia Tech towards the top for him. So that's definitely a recruitment Penn State should win. And he's probably in the next month or so. So they should probably put a cap on the D-line class if they can get one more D tackle, and then Harley and Ford likely join the class to end the edge recruiting in 2026. And then tomorrow, Pierce Peterson, I believe is his name. The tight end from Minnesota. Yeah. He plays quarterback, linebacker, tight end. I think he's played DN before, so they line him up all over the field. He's like an elite athlete. I think he's like a 4'3", 4'4" guy at like 6'5", 200 pounds. So he's down to Penn State in Minnesota. Penn State likes him at tight end, and he is announcing tomorrow. That sounds like a layup for a program like Penn State, but Minnesota just beat out Alabama for another in-state recruit, so they have the resources to at least keep those in-state guys home. So it's pretty tight right now. I don't have any word as to which way that's going, but probably by the time this is posted, I guess it's live, but by the time a lot of people are seeing this, I guess Pierce Peterson will probably be wrapped up with his recruitment. So that could be a Nittany line as well.
So going from what you've seen, you've got boots on the ground there. In your just personal opinion, what do you think Penn State needs right now? You're there every day. You're seeing what we're doing. What do you think personally that they need?
Are you saying recruiting or
recruiting wise? I meant recruiting wise. I'm sorry.
I mean, NIL is still not. It's better. It's improved, but it's not where they need it to be, especially for a program with the alumni network like Penn State has. That's kind of like their structure. They don't want to pay kids a lot out of high school because they want to allocate those funds towards, players that are proven at the collegiate level, like guys returning to Penn State. Maybe that's like a Nick Singleton, a Katron Allen, bringing one of those guys back. They prefer to pay guys that they know are going to make plays for them, not that they think are going to make plays for them. So that's going to hurt them up front. But you see down the line, maybe guys like Trevor Pena taking a discount to come to a program like Penn State out of the portal. I think that's just kind of Penn State's strategy for now until they can get maybe more funds on the front end. They still can't really let up on the retention fund because these guys need money to come back. If they could get that money in the NFL, they need a reason to come back outside of just finishing their education. Unfortunately, that's not usually enough nowadays. It was for Olu Fashanu, I will say that. His family really wanted him to finish his education. That's completely random, but it just popped in my head. But yeah, I think more funds on the front end would be really helpful. I also think the staff could do a little bit better with preparation for OVs, and I don't want people to take that the wrong way, but maybe just like planning out a player's future. I've heard that that's not as detailed as it has been at other schools like Notre Dame. They kind of just have a better idea as to how they're going to be set up on the field, off the field. Just everything is just more detailed at other schools from what I've heard. Not every school, but that in a game like in a game that is like so marginal, like football is, even like recruiting is so marginal, you can't have like slight slip-ups like that because that could be the difference. I think it was the difference in at least one recruitment for Penn State last week that they lost to Notre Dame. So, yeah, I'd say funds and preparation are the main two things for the staff and recruiting.
Awesome.
So kind of the word of our episode is vibes. Was there any like vibe change in that building because of last week, or is it just kind of like keep marching forward, can't really worry about what happened?
I mean, I'm not like in the facilities, like I'm not in Lash and everything, but from people that I have conversed with, like they're upset, but like you got to keep moving. Like you can't just sit there and pout, it's college football. You got to like, what's next? Which of these guys are realistic to flip maybe in a few months, that we can keep putting time and effort into, keep guys in their DMs, texting them. And then like who in the future, like who's next up, who's next up on the board that we can, again, allocate time to put guys on and just keep on them. What do you need to come to Penn State? What else can we provide for you to make this a yes, to lock this down and get it across the finish line? So you just keep moving forward. I haven't talked to a ton of coaches, honestly, since last week, but I've probably heard from one or two guys, and then keep moving forward. That's all you really can do.
To sort of piggyback on what Andy was saying there, how do you sell Penn State? Like, how do you sell Penn State to a recruit?
I'm not there to recruit, man. I'm just there to interview. I'm a media professional. I mean, off the field with the commits, especially, I can not off the field, off the camera. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can just talk to them like kid to kid. I'm still a kid. I'm 20.
Right.
So, but I'm not really.
I should have said more. How are you doing your part, doing the interviews and stuff like that? I said what I should. Are you doing a part?
Right. I mean, like in that less professional setting when we're not recording and everything, I can just, like I said, kind of just be a kid with them, and in that, hopefully that can make them feel a little more comfortable at the school. maybe at other schools the media is going to be annoying and like up your butt, and we're like I try to be like pretty lenient with them. Not lenient, but I think you know what I'm getting at. Like
No,
I'm not like sit here, we're recording in 10 seconds. Like it's not like a transactional thing, you know. I guess Franklin kind of preaches that too. We're not a transactional school, so maybe in a very, very small way I can push that a little further for them.
Planting a seed almost.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's move kind of off the recruiting. Looking at this upcoming season, we have all the momentum in the world coming off last season on the field. Is there any freshman that you're looking at that could get that green light right off the get and burn that red shirt and be an immediate factor for the season?
Yeah, I mean, that's never as simple as, you know, pulling up the recruiting list and checking out the highest rated guys because, well, one, that rating is a projection to how they're going to be when they're ready for the NFL draft, which I still don't agree with. I think it should be a projection straight into college, but the rankings can be a little deceptive sometimes. So you can't just really look at those and take them, you know, one for one. You also got to look at positions, like who's going to be behind four guys. Like Andrew Olesh is a perfect example. He's going to be elite, but he needs to put on weight. He needs to fine tune a couple things, and he has probably 2 or 3 All-Americans in front of him, 4 bodies maybe. So I don't think, contrary to what I've seen a little bit, I don't think Olesh will burn anything. Max Granville getting hurt, I think, opens up the door for 1 or 2 of those freshmen. I think Chaz Coleman's probably got the highest ceiling among all of them, but he needs to put on some weight. So Yvonne Kamaju is the guy that I have been like beating the drum for. He came in super underrated. I don't know why he didn't get recruited very much out of high school. He came out of Paint Branch, Maryland. Penn State kind of found him not late in the cycle, but later. He took his OV and just locked in his commitment. That was it. I think they were battling like Michigan State and Maryland for him. So he like flew really under the radar, and he turned on his tape, and it's like this kid's like a top 200 player. Like he's really good. I think 24/7 bumped him late in this cycle actually to a 4-star, but he like shot up as soon as he got into Penn State strength and conditioning. He got up to like he's like 6'3", 250 now. He's super twitched up. They gave him 99, which I think is going to look pretty cool out there. But yeah, I think he's like by far the most slept on guy that no one's talking about right now as far as the freshman class. So Yvonne Kamaju for sure, number 99. I think Deshaun Burnett could possibly burn. I think he's wearing 43 at linebacker. He's like an edge hybrid guy. Jim Knowles, he loves that jack position, which is like a DN linebacker hybrid. I think Deshaun could get some run there. He tested a lot better than the staff expected when he came in, so that is another name that I'm keeping an eye on. Trying to like think through my mind here. I think Kobe Howard is probably the most likely of the receivers to get run. He should be able to burn that red shirt, even if he doesn't get a ton of run. He'll probably play 6-7 games, you know, in that wide receiver 5 or 6 role, which is still too deep. But he's just been like one of those guys where he's like not elite at anything, but he does every single thing right, and he does it really well. He's physical, which Penn State receivers have lacked in the last few years. He has yard after catch ability, which has also been a lacking trait, a lacking skill in the last few years for Penn State receivers. So I think that's kind of separated him from the other freshman receivers early. I really like Lyric Samuel, but he's like Slender Man out there. He has speed for his size. I really like how long his strides are. He's just fun to watch, but he definitely needs to put on another 20 pounds before he's playing Big Ten football at least. I like the receiver class in general they just brought in, but Kobe Howard's probably the name that they'll be looking at this year the most, I would say. And he's out of Florida. Those Florida kids always play early for some reason. They're always ready to go. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye on him.
Do you see Tyser Denmark getting a lot more run this year?
Yeah, I think he'll be in the 4 or 5 role. I would say the 3 transfers, the top 3. A ton of people are asking me about wide receiver 1. I really don't think there's like a true wide receiver 1 on the team, which is fine. Notre Dame did the same thing last year, like with kind of a by committee approach, and they were fine. They made plays against Ohio State in the national championship. So I think that'll kind of be Penn State's deal this year, where it's by committee. They have a handful of just solid receivers. If I had to pick one that's like going to lead statistical categories, though, I'm probably going with Kyron Hudson because he's just like a vet. He's, again, physical, which Penn State receivers have been lacking, and he just does everything right. So I think he'll be like a bigger Parker Washington for us this year, where he's getting those little possession catches that move the sticks. Now we're getting off track here.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think he'll.
No, we're letting you cook, man. We're just gonna let you cook right now. We like what we're seeing right here.
I'm just rambling. I like talking ball. That's all.
No, so then talking about bottom up there, let's talk top down. What players do you think this year are gonna, besides like the obvious ones, like the Drews and stuff like that, who do you think is gonna be the next player that needs to step up this season?
I mean, I don't think anyone's talking about Khalil Dinkins, and I don't know why. Everyone's like, even the national media is like, Luke Reynolds is next up at Penn State, which he is. He's going to be really good, but I don't think he's going to start this year. Khalil Dinkins is the next starting tight end at Penn State, in my opinion. And if you put on his tape, he like puts people in the dirt with a smile. Like, he loves blocking now, which was not the case like freshman year, but he kind of progressed over the last year. And I think he just picked it up from Tyler Warren, honestly. You might still see effects from Tyler Warren in Penn State football this year because Khalil Dinkins loves blocking. He can obviously get open as a receiver. He moves really well, and you don't think so, but you pull up his profile, and he's 255 pounds, and he's a big dude, but he moves like a big receiver. He's 6'4", so a little shorter for a Penn State tight end. We've seen all these 6'6" dudes in the past that can run a 4.5, but I mean, I don't think he's an All-American, but Khalil Dinkins is going to be a damn good tight end, and no one's really talking about him. It's all Luke Reynolds, which he'll play in every game. I'm sure they love that 12 personnel, but I really like Khalil Dinkins, and no one's really said a peep about him all off season. So that's one that's kind of confused me for sure.
All right, cool.
Yeah, because Reynolds is on the tight end to break out list, like everybody's tight end to break out list.
Right,
has him on it.
Another one is Zariah Fisher that I don't think is getting enough hype from Penn State fans. Actually, this is fresh on my mind. I just recorded a podcast about a bunch of names I think aren't getting enough hype with Penn State fans. So yeah, Zariah Fisher's 6th-year guy. He had 2 season-ending injuries, so it's how can you not root for him? I think he's going to start this year, next to Nittany. But he got run in 2023 as a reserve guy, and he had 3.5 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. He showed production. He's really good. I've talked to him at a few events. He's another perfect example of a Penn State kid, super down to earth, kind. I don't feel like a nuisance when I'm talking to him, which sometimes I do with the players because media, even if it's off record, I don't always get the vibe that they love my presence there. So I try not to be pushy with that, but Zariah is always down for a little conversation. He's a really nice guy. So aside from that, you turn on the tape and he's really good. He's been making plays in all throughout, the offseason camps, spring practice, all that stuff. So he is maybe all Big Ten this year. He's going to start. So he's going to take a step forward. I don't think enough people are talking about him right now either, just because he's been in the program for so long. So he's not a flashy new name, and he hasn't really started in any recent years. So, I get it. The casual fan's not going to know Zariah Fisher, but I think they will by the end of this year.
Awesome.
Nice. Let's play a game here. Would you rather for this upcoming season? Would you rather have Penn State beat Oregon in the whiteout, or have Penn State beat Ohio State at Ohio State? If you had to pick one win.
So they're losing the other game in that scenario?
Yeah.
I'm taking Ohio State, man. That Ohio State I mean, do you know how much this fan base would flip out if we lost a home whiteout to Oregon? They're 5-point favorites already. It's just not – that would look so bad. But I'm still taking Ohio State on the road because, one, we haven't beaten them in, 9 years in a row. And then, 2,
since 16.
Yeah, to go into Columbus and do that would be sick. So, yeah, I would definitely take that. And then that's, later in the year, so that's momentum heading into the playoffs. I mean, if you can get out of that game and you win that game, there's not much behind – is Nebraska behind that? That's it?
Yeah.
So if you can, coast through that and get healthy for the playoffs, I think that'd be the ideal of the more ideal situation of those two.
Yeah, I think that's more of the narrative changer than.
I feel like there's only one
House.
correct answer right there, if we're going to be completely honest, and that was the right answer.
I mean, you can make a case for Oregon, but
I just think it's too new. I think they're too new. It's just it's a new relationship. We need to see where it goes.
It's definitely fair. That Big Ten championship pissed off some people though, in the program and the fan base.
Yeah, so, that game was crazy too.
It was.
We had so many chances.
It never really felt like Penn State was going to win because they just every time they'd score, Oregon would score twice. Like it was just nuts. It was a very fun game to watch, especially in person. But it was not fun to watch all the green and yellow confetti come down. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of frustrating.
So now I'm curious because this is called the Vibes Check episode, and you're in your 5th year now at Penn State. And you've been interviewing players now going I would say now for probably 5 years, I would assume.
I've been showing my face on camera for probably that long. Yeah, about 5 years.
So has the players from when you were a freshman to now your 5th year, is it the same type of product coming in? Do they have the same mentality? Have you seen anything change over these years in the program? Anything positive or negative that you've noticed?
I mean, it's a short sample size, but I think the cool thing is the kids they bring in every year are just Penn State kids. That's something that they have not strayed away from. I don't think they did with Bill O'Brien, and James Franklin definitely hasn't. That's kind of something that Joe Pa instilled here, and that's just been carried through by all of the head coaches to follow. It's only 2, but I mean that's a lot of time to just consistently bring in high-level athletes that are also great people off the field. And, of course, you're going to have bad eggs. You're going to have something happen once in a while that sucks. But, I mean, in general, these kids are really nice. So, again, I think I've said the phrase down to earth 4 times because that's Penn State, Everyone here, that's kind of PA in general, I think, maybe outside of Philly. I don't know if you guys are Philly fans, but –
hardworking people, you guys are hard workers.
Yeah. I can't
passing that John around, you got to pass that John around while you're working hard.
Yeah. But all the guys are really nice. You can just talk to them. They're good people. They care, which is important. That's not a given in my generation and the generation below me. It's not a given for everyone to just care and actually be genuine people. So that's something that has been lost with a lot of these college football programs, I think, that Penn State's just kind of continued. But, I mean, mentality-wise, yeah, it's hard to not be just all in on football because there's nothing else around Happy Valley, especially in the summer. I'm here in the summer for the first time, and it's I love people. So I am rolling in circles. I'm so bored. But it's outside of work, I kind of just hang out by the pool. It is nice. I can see as an athlete how this gets you just into a schedule. Outside of football, you can just go. There's no distractions. You can go do your workout. You can do your lift. You can go, do cardio by the pool. Whatever they're up to. It's really hard to not be locked in on it. So I think that's kind of something unique about Happy Valley that no matter what mindset they might come in with, that's kind of what they're going to end up moving towards by 6-8 weeks on campus.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Cool.
Yeah, I know I saw one of these Would You Rathers on Twitter a couple weeks ago. It seems like an easy one, but would you rather have Drew win a Heisman or win the national title? It seems like an easy one, but some people were arguing for the Heisman for some reason.
No, I go title for sure.
Yeah.
The snowball effect that has on a program, you're probably recruiting 3 kids per cycle that if they hit their ceiling can win a Heisman in the future. So, maybe not quite at that clip, but I think that has much bigger repercussions, positive repercussions, I guess, on a program.
Yeah, and I guess one last question because we're nearing that 30-minute mark here. and we can all kind of chime in on this one. Do you think it's natty or bust this year for Penn State?
Nick, you want to go first?
Well, in my personal opinion, it's natty or bust every year. So I don't know what the other answer would be there, but yeah, I still think it's natty or bust no matter what.
Okay. What do you think?
I think it is just because of how much they brought back.
Okay.
Like, it's going to be hard to return this much production. And it's following along with what Michigan did 2 years ago and with what Ohio State did last year.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same blueprint where you're bringing back a lot of your top guys. And, with Jim Knowles coming over, you kept Colton Nittany.
Mhm.
Like, everything just seems to be aligning like it did for Michigan, like it did for Ohio State. And I feel like they were labeled, natty or bust seasons for them too. Like, I feel like this is Penn State's time. It's their turn. Like, let's go do it and live up to expectations.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that argument, but I'm going to say no, just because I think two things can coexist where, like what you're saying, what you guys are both saying with like all the pieces coming together. This is Penn State's best team in years. They have their best shot at the natty in years, but that doesn't mean there aren't like other elite programs out there. I mean, if they go up head to head with a Texas next year in any game in the playoffs, probably Ohio State, Clemson. There's 2 or 3 other teams out there that can go guy for guy with Penn State roster wise. Maybe 1 or 2. I think Texas might have the best roster. I mean, you look at the odds; they have like the 5th best odds. But I think it's Penn State's best chance in a really long time. And I'd also probably still give them like a 20%, 25% chance, which I think is good for there's 32, 100. I think there's even more now, 135 FBS teams. So, I mean, to be at that level in the first place is great. Of course, you want to get over the hump. You want to win the big game. I think that's what is most important this year. I think they need to beat a team that undoubtedly, like, there's no looking back on that game like people did with SMU and Boise State and saying, well, they were missing this guy and they don't have that much depth and they don't recruit that well in the first place. They just develop. I want to beat like an Ohio State or somebody in the playoff, like a Clemson, an Oregon, even Oregon this year, like at home. I think if they win a game like that, maybe not Oregon because they're going to be favored by a decent amount, but to beat a team that they're like maybe underdogs to, or it's like pretty even, like that Notre Dame Orange Bowl, just to beat a team like that and just like leave no doubt that they won a big game. I think that's the most important thing. So I'd say 11 wins, and at least one of those 11 regular season wins, and then a playoff run. I'd say a natty appearance would be my like expectation. Maybe not a win, because if they lost by 3 points to Texas, I'd be absolutely devastated. But I couldn't say that like the season was a bust, because that'd be so much fun to watch a run like that. That I don't even want to think about that scenario in my head. That'd be a great season if we beat Ohio State. If we make a playoff run, beat a couple insane teams in the playoffs, and then lost to like an insane team in the natty. I don't think that sucks, but like that's an awesome year. That's a lot of fun along the way, and one that people like us would remember forever that love Penn State football. So I don't think it's natty or bust, and that's kind of my deep answer. But I think it's fair either way. I can understand this year why people think it's natty or bust.
You're more of a natty appearance or bust.
I think that's a fair way to put it.
Yeah,
I could have just said that. That's like my whole answer summed up in like 5 words.
You know what? Better. I like yours way better than mine. So we'll just be honest with ourselves here.
Yeah, I like both. You got to the point.
Right. It's more of like, is it, natty or bust, or is it your best chance at a national championship in how many years?
Right. And I think everything's just circumstantial in college football. It's such an unpredictable sport, and that's why so many people love it too. It's just so much fun because you never know what's going to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll end it on that note. Thanks, everybody, for watching episode 2 here of Penn State at Voice of College Football. Dylan, thanks for joining us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
I thought it was fun, and hopefully our fans will think so too.
All right.
Thank you as well. That was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.